And hello! Welcome back to another episode of the KashCast. Wrap the heroes off of a previous episode with Megan Lands. I have another Jellystone crew member here as my current guest. I'd like to introduce to you Careen Ingle. She's currently a director on Jellystone, among other things, career, having also written, directed, and storyboarded various episodes of shows such as Unikitty, Teen Titans Go, and the Mr. Peabody and Sherman show. Now, before I continue, as always, I want to give Careen a little bit of space to describe herself if she so chooses.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, Adam. First of all, hi, everybody. Hello. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty succinct. You know, I've been doing cartoons for, 7 or 8 years now, and I've been a director for about 4 or 5 of them. So, yeah, I don't know. And it's fun and I like it and I'm glad. Yeah, those are all the shows I've worked on. I was an animator for a year before I started doing boards. So I've done that. I've done a lot of the different jobs. And I'm glad I'm a director now I'll say that.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. So just to start with a bit of like a lowball question. Mm-hmm. And I know like this was also previously discussed in a previous podcast that you were in. Wink, wink. Check that out. Check the Ink and Paint Folk podcast too. Wink, wink.
I know, yeah, Ink and Paint Folks. I think at the time I was on it was called the Ink and Paint Girls podcast, but now it's the more inclusive Ink and Paint Folks podcast. That was on a couple years ago. Pre Jellystone. that podcast is funny because that was before I started using Storyboard Pro, and I'm like, I don't like Storyboard Pro. That's just better. And now I'm like, oh, I actually like Storyboard Pro quite a bit. It's I've done a 180 for those of you checking in.
Yeah.
They're both fine. If I could smush the development, huh? Yeah, if I could smush the two programs together, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
But sorry.
But yeah, just no problem, yeah. No problem. But just for a lowball question, if you don't mind, summing up for my listeners, just like where did you originally go to school and like your path of getting started in the animation industry?
So I went to school at USC, and I majored in animation there, and it was I don't know, it was great. I loved going there. It was, it's like we didn't really learn software. You know, maybe some schools do, but it was like it was more like the fundamentals of like, here's what to think about when making a film, and here's how these different jobs work. But then when it came to like actually, like drawing and teaching yourself how to use the tools in order to make those films, we all taught ourselves. So it was, I really liked going to school. I thought it helped me out a lot. It gave me the boost I needed. But really, I think if you work hard, regardless whether you go straight into the workforce or, do some, I liked going to school and it worked for me. I don't think everybody necessarily, you can do it without, though, for sure. Because it's like, I have a degree from USC. My degree means nothing, like, because it's more the work that I produced at school that like got me my jobs. But it's like if I didn't have a degree, I'd probably still be fine. I'm glad I have it, though, But yeah, it was great. Of course. Learned everything, and then senior year, you spend the whole year making a film, and then that film was kind of my business card, kind of going forward, and that's how I got my jobs. Actually, on Unikitty, I was hired because they liked my student film, even though I had been working on Peabody and Sherman for like 2 years at that point. They were like, oh no, we hired you because we saw your student film and liked it. So it didn't even matter that I had been working for like 2 years. It was, they noticed me because of my student film. So it was, I worked really hard on it. So I can't watch it anymore because I'm like better now. And I just see all the mistakes I've made, and I think it's paced real slow. And I'm like, oh, it's so slow. But yeah. I mean, I think that's just because it's mine, We're always harsher on our own work.
Yeah, that is a artist trademark.
For sure.
Something So, out of all the duties that you've managed over the years between writing, storyboarding, and directing, which one has personally been the most enjoyable for you?
Well, I mean, they're all so intermarried into each other, you know. It's like I've never written something and then didn't board it, like, and didn't direct. Like on Jellystone, like we all, so you know, it was the supervisors and the directors and the board artists wrote all of the outlines, and then we would then, and those were the outlines we would use, you know, to do the episodes and do boards from. But if you wrote an outline, you weren't necessarily the person who boarded the episode or directed the episode. So,
Right.
But I got all of my outlines. So I've never written an outline and had somebody else do it. So like all the outlines you saw that had my name at the beginning, I was also the director. But like Jelly Russell Rumble, which was the wrestling episode, Aaron wrote that, and he was one of the other directors, but I directed it. So you didn't necessarily. So it's like I don't know what it's like to have someone else work on my writing, because it's like every time I've written, it's like I'm writing it and I know what all the scenes are gonna look like as I'm writing it, and I know what jokes I'm gonna do, and I do all that. So it's like it's just kind of like step one in the process of getting the whole thing done. I haven't been in a scenario yet where I write something and then hand it off and I'm completely hands off, because it's usually I write it and then I am the director. Especially because most of the writing I do is when it's like you get a script and it's all like, oh, this script is, you know, good, but we should probably change this one scene because it's too expensive, or the episode's a little too short, we're going to have to turn two scenes into one scene, or it's too long is actually way more common. So it's like, how do we get all these story points in, but then shave off like 2 minutes off of an 11? So it's like a lot of the writing I do is rewriting to make sure the episode doesn't get kicked back because it doesn't, either like the story doesn't make sense, or it's way too long, or it has too many assets, you know, like characters and backgrounds and locations. So it's like a lot of the writing I do is maintenance. And then the writing that I have done where it's like I started at the beginning and I got to the end, I was the director the whole time. So, and I always do a portion of the boards on everything I do, because it's a fairer balance of work. It keeps my borders from getting burnt out. It keeps everybody on the same page because you can keep it cohesive. You know, a lot of times it's like I'll do a bunch of thumbs and be like, okay, let's have this character standing here, this person there, this room is shaped like this, you know. So I like all three a lot. I love when I get to write and do what I'm doing, but it's like I couldn't say that I liked one more than the other, because I'm always doing all three at the same time. Kind of, or at the very least, it's
right.
I may not always be writing on everything, because sometimes you get it and you're like, this is good to go, let's start. But I'm always bored and directing. If I'm writing, I'm bored and directing all at the same time, pretty much. And I don't think, if I worked really hard on an outline, I think I'd be pretty mad if actually somebody else got it. I'd be like, but I have all these wonderful ideas in my head. You know, it's like I did all this extra work and you're not going to have me do it. You know, so it's like I don't. I hope that doesn't happen. You know, like or I don't know. It's when I write stuff. It's like, okay, and I would also like to see this through. You know, because there's so much extra that's not on the page.
Oh yeah. Right. And you know, I can imagine just like, you know, like every like piece of art would create, you know, it's a bit personal. So I can imagine if you were to like have like a banger outline and then like it gets past this and I say, what you do to my baby? Or
I know,
like
exactly. I'm very curious to find out how Aaron felt about how that episode turned out, because he was like, oh, I love it. I'm like, okay, but do you? You know, it's all like, it's okay if it's not exactly, because we had to like cut out, there were like Captain Caveman and his son actually had a prominent role in that episode, and then the episode was too long, so I was just like, let's cut out an entire wrestling duo, you know. So it's like it does have to change it. Well, it was, I mean, you say but it's like the episode can't be 15 minutes long, but also they were, out of all the wrestlers we had, all the other wrestlers were funnier. Like, so that's why we cut what they were doing, and we replaced it with Yogi, and that made more sense because it was kind of a Yogi centric plot to a certain degree. So it was like, it makes more sense to have Yogi in there. So
right.
Yeah. So it's like, and you got to be doing changes like that all the time, where it doesn't have anything to do with like anybody doing it's like nobody messed up. It was just like, now that we got into it, we got it's too long.
But when it comes to like jokes, just to try to have like a little bit of a segue, I actually like wanted to ask you personally, like, how would you describe like your personal sense of humor and like incorporating it into the stuff that you work on?
Well, I mean, it's hard to describe because it's just how I've always been and how I've always done it. But the strategy I always do going in is, how can I make this weirder and not what people expected? Or like, because it's like, you can be like, if you're like, how can I make this funnier? It's like, well, yeah, that's what we're all trying to do. But it's all like, comedy comes from surprising people and making connections that one doesn't necessarily see may have been there the whole time. So it's like,
right.
I don't know. I always try to think, it's like, it's like, okay, what does this remind me of, that maybe is only tangentially related, and then I try and get it in there. Or it's just like, what is, I mean, my favorite thing to do is I just sit down with my coworkers or whoever I'm working with, and we just sit down, and it's all like, let's talk it out. What are things that could happen? And then we just try to think of, as silly as we can, make it, or as weird or as unexpected. I know, if you've seen, there was an episode of Peabody and Sherman where it was like an Australia themed episode, and it's like, everything's going to be about Australia, and we're going to see Australian animals and talk to Australian people. But then Mr. Peabody, he gets a package, and then he just spends the rest of the episode trying to open a package. It's called Peabody's Delivery. But so in that episode, it's an Australia themed episode. So Sherman comes out, but it's, instead of Sherman coming out at the beginning, like a dingo walks out, and then the mouth opens up and you see that Sherman's inside. He's just like wearing like a suit. And it was just like, actually we were allowed to do Mr. Sherman, he's like, oh no, a dingo ate my baby, which I could not believe they allowed us to do, because that was real. A dingo really ate somebody. I think maybe that was a little irresponsible of DreamWorks to let me do, but we did it. But so the thing is, that's not even the point of what I'm trying to describe. So a little later on the episode, Sherman is still inside the dingo body with his head sticking out, and whenever he walks like a little bit too fast, and this weird banjo music plays, and it's like, that's from. If you've ever seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, there's a scene where there's just a dog with a human face that walks up, but they sped up the dog, and the dog walks a little too fast, and it plays this weird kind of banjo music, and it's completely out of place in the film. I don't know why the banjo music is there, but I'm like, oh, let's do some of that banjo. It's like, okay, well, that was a dog with a person face. This is a kid inside a dog with his face popping out. Let's do that same banjo music, and we got to have him walk a little too fast. Everybody's like, that doesn't have anything to do with Australia or anything. It's like, yeah, but it's weird. And even if you don't know anything about the movie that this joke was inspired from, it is just weird, and so it's just like, okay, what's a thing that I saw that was funny? I'll remember it. Oh, we can do that here. And we put it in, and then you just try to make the weirdest thing, and then it's, and that's just with, anything. It's just like, make it weird. But you got to run it by people, though, because if it's only funny to you, that's not.
Oh,
it's like,
of course.
I've pitched some stuff where I'm like, this is hilarious. And everybody's all like, and I'm like, okay, it's cut. If nobody else, if it didn't get a laugh, it's gone. no inside jokes, you know. It's for the public. It's got to be an outside joke.
Of course. Before I kind of segue into a next question, something like just to like do this topic that I found funny. Like one of my favorite like earlier episodes of Unikitty was Kaiju Kitty. And I remember like years ago, I remember just like catching the sequence of just like everyone, just their faces coming out. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sentai reference.
Of course it is. So I'm glad you brought up Kaiju Kitty. So that was an episode I was a board artist, but I wasn't a director yet. That was before I got promoted. And before when I was an animator, I was employed, but I was underemployed. So it was like I was making money, but I wasn't making as much money as I wanted to, and I didn't have as many hours as I wanted to, just because it's right. project based, and sometimes there's not enough work to go around. So it was me and my roommates we would watch a lot of Super Sentai all the time, and so that one with all the faces coming out, that's Jetman, I'm pretty sure. The one where they're all birds, and that one's a popular one. But it was we watched everything. So, and when Ed and Lynn assigned me that episode to do, they didn't know I liked Super Sentai and did all this stuff. They were like, "Careen, you get the big robot episode." I'm like, hell yeah! Do we swear on this podcast? Are we allowed to?
Yeah, you can swear.
Oh yeah, I was like, it was I got this. It was like, oh fuck yeah! I know exactly what to do here, and it was like I instantly produced like I had like hours upon hours of reference material, and they were like, "How do you know all this?" And I'm like, "I just do. I love this stuff." And the funny thing is, I do not like American Power Rangers. I don't watch the Western stuff. The Japanese stuff is so much. It's funnier. It's better. If the acting is bad, I can't tell because I don't speak Japanese. So like, but it's so good. And it was Casey Alexander was my director, and so it was like he was doing his little part of the episode. And he was like, I have a part where they got to dance. Is there anything where is there any kind of thing where they were all dancing? And I'm like, I instantly sent him like 30 minutes of like different things he could use. And he's like, oh my God. I'm like, little do you know, Casey, there was an entire dancing related Sentai where they were all different type of dancers. Then say Battle Fever J coming right at you. But it's, there's a lot of really specific. I was about to say, there's a lot of Jetman. I think it might be O-Ranger, it might be 5-Man, but it was like, I spent a day just on that shot right before the faces come out where he spins, or I get Mecha Kitty Turbo V is a girl. She's a female. They robot. Yeah. And it's like she spins and there's like a lens flare. I spent 8 hours on like that spin because like that character has like a lot of shapes. There's a shot in the beginning where they spin, and I'm like, I did that, and it's like W paid me to just make one guy spin for a day, but it was that, there's. If you go on Twitter, I can find a bunch of the GIFs, but it's like it's chock-a-block full of references.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was like I lucked out and I got an episode based on a subject, well, not even based on a subject I really love, just a subject where I could pull in something I really, really liked and work on. So I really lucked out there. But the thing is, you don't have to luck out and get something that's related to something you really like. You can't, obviously you can't shoehorn in completely unrelated stuff, but with any episode, if you see something where it's all like, oh, there's a thing I really like, and I bet I could sneak in something like this. As long as you're doing it with at least a modicum of like tact and thought about the story, you can get your inspiration from anywhere, so it's like, I've had many episodes where characters have to be doing cool poses, and it's just like, okay, let me think about all of the cool Super Sentai poses I've ever seen and how 5 people pose in a group. It's like, okay, those 5 people pose in a group good. It's like, I got to pose 3. So it's like, what are different, shapes and hand positions and feet positions I can use to have it look really cool, and what is the directionality at which they're going into this pose, which is another big part of it. And it's, it's all about just like thinking about, it's like, what's a cool thing I saw? What specifically about it did I think was cool? And how can I apply that later on in a scenario that is either related or unrelated? And you just you think about it, and if you see something and you're like, that was cool and I don't know why, like save it. Like, if it was a YouTube thing, it's just like save it in a reference folder and just watch it and be like, eventually you'll be like, I know why I thought that was cool. This. And yeah.
Absolutely. It's all come together.
Exactly.
Yes. And like before I segue into like our first question, let me just say, like, this is just, oh man, I'm just, no, it's just like exact, just to be able to just like, I mean, not only to appreciate Unikitty on another level, but just because of the fact that, like, when I was growing up, obviously, getting into Power Rangers, but, graduating to Super Sentai, like, you don't, at least like when I was like still growing up, you didn't really see a lot of references to tokusatsu, you know what I mean? And even if there were, it's probably, just like surface level, which, is fine. But, when you get something that like really kicks it, when you can tell like, oh, okay, that person really knows their homework.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just really great to see.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I think it's. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Of course. I mean, you don't have to thank me. It's so funny, and I love to do it. But it's. I think it's. I think we're. I know there are other cartoons. Like I think OKKO was all like, oh yeah, we referenced this series, or something. And I think it's just like, I think it's just a lot more available, because there's people translating stuff for fun, on the internet. So I think it's just like a lot easier to get your hands on older footage that, from another country. And so it's like, because, it's the Wikipedia-ness of it all, where it's all like everybody's working together to make more media available to more people. And it's only going to be better for, people who watch, people who make stuff, because it's all like, oh, more things to watch. Fantastic. That's more ideas to share, So it's great.
Yeah, more inspiration. Yeah. So just to, I mean, honestly, like feel free, because like we might have like partly answered already. But Lin V. Wang asks, is there a piece of entertainment that you can point to that influenced you greatly to pursue animation? If not, what are your biggest influences in your work now?
First of all, hi, Lynn. Thanks for asking a question. For those of you who don't know, Lynn was my boss on Unikitty. It was like, Lynn is one of the creators of Her and Ed. Yeah, this is a good question. I would say in terms of what influenced me to pursue animation, I don't think there was any one thing that got me into it. I think it was just like, I liked cartoons, and when I realized I could do them as a job, because it's like, well, I liked drawing and I would make comics, all when I was a kid and stuff. And I love drawing and drawing characters and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is a job, I want to do it. So I wouldn't say there was one show or one thing. There's definitely like things you watch and you're like, nice, hell yeah, I want to do something like that. But I wouldn't say there was any one thing that led me into anime. I know a lot of people have like their one show where like, oh, I can do this. But it was like, for me, I wouldn't say there was any one thing that got me into it. Like, I think I was just kind of destined to be in once I realized it was a thing I could do. And then, so what are my biggest influences in my work now? I don't know about influence, may not be the right word, but in terms of things I look at and things I draw from in order to make my work a certain way, and the way it is, and some people may get down on me for this or think it's silly, but I watch a lot of reality television, and there's a lot to learn. Like, that's the thing, is it's like everybody's like, you got to study the masters, and it's like, yeah, I like watching animation, and I like seeing cool stuff, but that you're watching something that another person made, and no animation it's not organic. It was made, it's all, human made by hands, and somebody thought of it and somebody did it. So you can look at that and it's like, that's cool, and you can look at that. But I watch a lot of The Bachelor and the Bachelor franchise, and I watch and I love RuPaul's Drag Race and all this stuff, which I guess technically is more of a competition show, but it's real people in that. And it's when you're there's something about observing real people and what they're doing in certain scenarios is you're going to get stuff that you aren't going to see if you're watching something that is scripted or is animated or something. So it's like you watch and you pick up, it's all like, how are these two people interacting with each other? Look how this person turned around and looked at that. Look how this person is reacting to this thing, And it's like you can get some really interesting, specific kind of acting and speech and way people are doing things from that. Especially, I watch The Bachelor with all my friends, and we all make fun of it the whole time. And we're like coming up with joke scenarios as we're watching it. And it's all like, that's one of my favorite things to do is just watch a piece of media. We do this. We would do this all the time when I was in college, because I went to film school. And so a lot of times you have a test or you have to write a paper on a bunch of movies that you would never watch if you weren't made to watch it by your professor, So it's like, this isn't a movie I'd ever pick to watch, but then you got to watch it with your friends because you guys got a test on it. And then you're talking about it the whole time and you're coming up with some funny ideas and some funny stuff. And you're noticing funny things and you're like, I can use this. There's totally stuff, but and I think I get a lot of stuff from that where it's just like, I'm going to watch something totally unrelated and I bet I'll see something cool and I'll think about it. I'll put it in the back of my mind and I can use it later. Like I'd say RuPaul's Drag Race, especially, I am so much of a better board artist having been a fan of that show because it's all like, okay, a character has to do a pose, but it's all like, even if you're just thinking about their hands, it's like, this is different. This is different. This is different. This is different, and it's like, you watch all these people doing all this stuff and all these moves, and it's like, oh, there's so many fun things I can use here. And it's coming from real people who are just, they didn't rehearse, they're just moving around in the moment. It was, lately I've been watching Jellystone's sister program, F-Boy Island, which came out on the same day. And came out HBO Max same day. We planned it. It was on purpose. But like there's a part on that. There is a part where it's three women all dating a house full of men, and they're all working together, which I liked because it was like unions. It was like nice. They're sharing notes. They're sharing data. They're corroborating stories. It was like, I like that. And they're like, we'll back each other up. And one of them is like, I have a safe word. It's pterodactyl. And they're like, well, that's not a word you can organically come. So they're like, if I ever say pterodactyl, I need someone to come and get me out of there because I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. And there's a part later in the episode where she's talking to a guy and he says, I don't know, he says something whack. And she's like, I'm done. And so she's like, pterodactyl. And then it cuts to another woman on the other side and she's just like, huh? And then the other girl's like, oh my God, Sarah needs my help. I need to go. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. And it's like, because it's like she didn't even fully react. And she's just like, this woman's trying to get out of there as fast as she can by any means possible. And it's like, I don't know. There's something about like real people doing things and you see it. It's just like, it's so funny. And it's just all like, that was funny. I'll remember that was funny. I can use this, so, yeah. If you only watch the animation, you can only see the things that other people thought of, but not that other people did, so it's like, and I'm certainly not saying don't. I'm saying it's like, you got to have variety. You got to watch all stuff and you got to, you can get anything from anywhere, it's also, you shouldn't just be watching stuff. You should like go out and do things and go to the museum and go to the park and,
yes,
see, it's just like, you can You can get anything from anywhere. If it's interesting to you, it'll probably be interesting to somebody else. So you just got to find a way to present it in the right scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, and to give our listeners an example of this, something that I found out today while looking for your Tumblr for Kaiju Kitty, I did not expect for you to pull from Dave Chappelle.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. I completely forgot about that. But it was like, I was all like, I need that punch that he does it's a great punch. It's got a great silhouette. It reads great. And I'm like, and I'm just like, and it was on the staging I needed, and I'm all like, this is great. Like, so yeah, and I was remember, I'm like, oh man, where did I see that great punch? It's like, oh, it was Dave Chappelle when he was a big monster. So it's not even on screen for very long, but it's like, and it's, people are like, oh, you gotta be able to think of everything on your own. It's like, no, you gotta be, if you can find you just have to be able to find a good reference, and it's not like I traced it, it's Kaiju Kitty, Mecha Kitty Turbo V has a completely different body. So it's just like, oh, right, I'll take the bones of this and put it on. Yes, I've totally forgot about that. I'm glad you remember that. But yeah, it was a great punch. Thank you, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's see. Oh, okay. So this one, so now we could pivot to another show that you've done work on, Teen Titans Go.
Yes.
So I have my own question, and then we can go to a viewer questions also about the show. That sound good?
Sounds great. Ask away.
So for me, Teen Titans Go has lasted like 7 years at this point. What about do you think contributes to pardon me, I'm tongue-tied. Mm-hmm. What about it do you think contributes to its success, and what have you enjoyed bringing to the show?
So I would say the reason that Teen Titans Go is so successful is because it's really funny. Yes. People really enjoy it. And, when I, working on it, I don't know. People always seem to think online, a lot of people complain about it all the time because it's not the original Teen Titans. They canceled it to make this. First of all, no, they didn't. That's not how shows work. It was, people don't cancel a show to make another show. A show gets canceled and then later on they're like, oh, but we do like these characters. What else do we want to do with them? And people don't want to do the same thing. It's like, it's not good business to do the exact same thing. They're like, oh, you ruined the old one. It's like, no, the old one still exists. Chill. Watch it on your own time, but
watching HBO Max.
I know exactly. It's on HBO Max now. They're both great. They're both different. I think it's very cool that they both have the same voice actors. Yeah. And it's, but it's Teen Titans Go, so online, people might think it's like, oh, a lot of people complain, but those people who are complaining are not the target audience for the show. And they're, it's kids love it and adults love it too. Parents and kids like to watch it together.
Myself included.
I've been on like different panels for different things, and I've been talking to like people who are very important, where it's like, I'm an executive at Disney and all these things that I'm like, oh yeah, I work on Teen Titans Go. Like, you work on Teen Titans Go? I love that show. So it's like people in the industry love the show. Kids at school love the show. I think it's it's everybody likes it. It's very funny. It's very joke dense, which is a thing I try to do in all of my work, where it's just like, we can't have too, like, it's like, there are opportunities, and it's not like you're shoehorning them in there, but it's like, there's an opportunity for a joke here. We're going to do it. We can't have them just sitting around doing nothing with no jokes, because it's very easy to put in a joke, And when I say joke, it's not necessarily a thing with a setup and a punchline. It's just like a thing that is funny, and it could just be a funny face, a funny camera move, anything that could get a rise out of, somebody. And I think that people like Teen Titans Go because they've got lots of fun ideas. All the characters they were very figured out, going in. I think that was the same case on Unikitty, where it was like I showed up and they're like, this character's personality is this, their personality is this is what they do, this is how they act. It was like Ed and Lynn were all like, we know these characters front and back. Let's all get to know them too. And we got to know them better as we worked with them, and you uncover more facets. But you go in right away and you know what they're all about. And that's how it is on Teen Titans Go too. It's all like, I know how these guys are. I know how they interact, you know, and this is, and it's a dynamic that is, you know, they got it right, and it's funny and people like it. And the other funny thing about Teen Titans Go is like, people are like, oh, why are they always doing these same type of episodes? Like the Justice League Top Talent Idol Star Now, you know, episodes are like, man, why do they keep doing these? Aren't people getting tired of them? And it's like, they're running out of ideas. Meanwhile, it's not us on Teen Titans Go who keep doing these. It's Cartoon Network is like, people love these episodes. Please make more. And it's like, we just did one. And they're like, do another one. And it's like, okay. So it's like Teen Titans Go is not running out of ideas. It's some of the ideas they're doing are so popular with the viewers. They're like, do more. So like it's just like, the reason they do this formula so much is because the people really like it. Meanwhile, we're all like, the network wants us to do this formula, but how do we make it different so we're not doing the same thing over and over again? So it's like we do it and then we try real hard where it's and succeed, I would argue, to make it different enough, you know, every time, where it's like you're not watching the same thing. It's all the familiar elements you like and new elements that you'll like as well. And then what do you think what do I think I brought? Well, so I came in, it was season 6 when I came in. So it's like Teen Titans Go was the first show I worked on where I wasn't there at the start. Like, this was a show that had been going on for a while when I started. So normally it's like I get to make up a bunch of stuff and that's how it is. But on this one, it's like, if I want to do something, I got to look this up to make sure I'm not contradicting something, to make sure I'm being consistent with the way the show's always been. Which was interesting because a handful of the episodes I got, they're all like, oh, and we've never done this before. And I'm like, you've never done it before, but this is season 6. And they're like, yeah, it was, I got a disproportionate number of episodes where they go to where Raven is from, Azarath, like the demon realm. And I'm like, they're like, the first episode I got was Magic Man, and they go there. I'm like, okay, so like, what's this place look like? And they're like, we don't know. We've never gone. I'm like, really? So it was, even though it was a show that had been on for a long time, I still got to like figure out new stuff, which was cool. And the fun thing about Magic Man was Magic Man all the Teen Titans Go episodes are 10 minutes, but when we got it all done and the script was done, it was 9. And so it's like, oh, it's short. We gotta add some stuff in. And so it was like, well, Raven's lost all of her magic, but she has to get to the magic realm. How does she get there? And I'm like, I got it. So I boarded that whole scene with, I made up, his name's Thorpagor, and he has hands on his head and his butt that he uses as wings. And he looks very different in the boards, but he's a monster. He screams, and you summon him, and he'll take you to the. And then he ended up being a reoccurring character who showed up in a couple other episodes where it's just like, if you have to go to Azarath, he's the one who shows up and he takes you there. Because later I got a disproportionate. Also later I got the one where for Raven's birthday they go to Trigon's house, and Thorpagor is there to drive the bus.
Right.
Like, so, but it was like I was there in season 6. I did 7 episodes. But I got all the episodes where they went to Azarath. So it was like, I was just there for a little bit, but this whole realm, I got all of the, it was like the first time we saw Raven's brothers and her grandma. I got those episodes. All the times we went to Azarath, I got those. So it was funny the way the chips fell, because I don't think it was totally on purpose. I think it was just kind of the way it ended up with like what scripts were available at what time. So that was cool. But I mean, really I went in and it was really easy to pick up and just like go, because the characters are so figured out and funny, you know, and my sense of humor just happens to mesh well with what they were already doing on the show. So Ended up working out real good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny just thinking about it. And I guess with like all you contributed, you know, you could definitely say at this point, both shows definitely have deep lore.
Yes, for sure. The deep lore is fun because there's some of it you think like you and the crew think of yourself, and then some of it ends up on screen and some of it never does. But then there's also deep lore that just the fans uncover through observation that we were never even thinking about. Where they're like, wait, I saw this, and this. Does that mean this? And I'm like, does it? Oh, you may be onto something there. you may have caught, you know, something or other. And it's like, oh, that is, and then we'll like take it and we'll run with it, you know. People online, they're always like, oh, my headcanon is this, which I don't get why people say headcanon. You can just say theory. Headcanon, it's like don't delegitimize this idea you had by being like, oh, it's just for my head. It's like, no, if you have a theory, be confident enough to have a theory. You know, like that's, if you think that's what's going on, don't caveat it and say it's just for your own head. You're allowed to be like, I think this is going on. And you don't have to, it's same thing. Like, that's the same thing. Like people say, oh, this is my OC, my original character. I'm like, well, that's, if you have, you can just say it's your character because it's implicit that you made it up if it's your character. So it's like, you don't have to caveat it. It's like, it is by, if it's your character, it's by definition original. So you can just say, this is my character. You know, it's not like, everybody was saying like Chuck Jones was, you know, like Bugs Bunny was his OC. It's like, no, it's a character. It's their character. If the character is yours, they're by definition. It's like, no, just, I was about to say, own it. This is my theory. This is my character. But yeah, I think like, yeah, I don't know. It's but yeah, I love it when people notice all the extra secret stuff, you know, in the episode that even us on the show maybe didn't get. I mean, are they wrong 90% of the time? Yeah. But every so often someone online is like, what about this? And I'm like, ooh, what about that? Maybe that is what's going on. I like that, you know. This does line up. This doesn't contradict anything. This could be true.
It's like some Gravity Falls levels of foreshadowing.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, well, I guess like technically, we already asked like your question. I was just asking what was your favorite Teen Titans Go episode to work on. So
my favorite Teen Titans Go episode to work on was TV Night 6 because I wrote it. That was I mean, not just because I wrote it, but it was also, that was the first time I got to write the entire episode, an entire episode from scratch. And I got to put my name on it. Like on Peabody and Sherman, it was outline driven and the writers wrote outlines. But like the dialogue and all the jokes and stuff that happened, that was the board artists and the directors wrote all those. Like we did all that. Anything a character said in my episode, in my part of the episode, I wrote. But DreamWorks doesn't like to give people double credits because, so I didn't get writing credit for all the writing I did on that show. So it was on Teen Titans Go. It was also, it was an outline. It was from an outline. On TV Night 6, it was all like, I wrote the outline, I wrote the script, I directed it, and then it was I got to work on it. I got to work on it with Talia Perper and Christine Kwan, who are my very good friends. So it was also, it was extra fun because it was also, I was very good friends with the board artists I was working with. So it was all like, we would all just sit down and be like, here, you know, it's like, okay, you're going to do this skit and you're going to do this skit. Here are things we can do. And then we'd all brainstorm and come up, and it turned out great. And I had to write that episode as we were boarding it. Like it was, I only got a week's notice before doing the episode. TV night, so that when Teen Titans Go does a TV night episode, those TV night episodes are because we didn't have enough scripts for that round. It means like something happened with a script, it got notes or it fell through, and it's like, we got to start the next round of episodes. We don't have one. So the director will write one, and they always want to have a different director do it. So that was only my third episode on the show, but they're like, write one. They're like, do you want to write one? I'm like, sounds good. I'll figure it out. And so it's like you come up with like 10 ideas. I pitch them to my boss, Pete, and Pete McHale, and he's like, I like this one, and this one. And we're like, okay, cool, we'll do those. And then you write them, and then we check them out, and then we just start going. But it's like TV 96 has a song in it, and I wrote and it's like I had to write that while other stuff was being boarded, and then I gave it to Christine, and Christine was like, I had to record a demo of the song, give it to Christine, and then Christine would board it. And we did that all. Christine boarded it in a week, which is insane. Like she's so talented, and like it was just very cool. We really liked all the bits we were doing, and they all turned out great, and we all had a fun time doing it. So that was, and then Pocket Robin ended up being a big breakout hit at the studio.
My God.
The Sam Register, the president of animation, he was all like, when I was on Jellystone, I was, a lot of the people on Jellystone were on the story team were all friends going in, and they were all very close, and kind of, they were a clique who all kind of knew each other. And I just came in. I wasn't in that group, and they all would like kind of talk to each other. But like I was an outsider on Jellystone for sure. Coming in, and we had a meeting, and Sam Register was there and looking at ideas, and he was like, "Wait a second, Careen, are you the one who did Pocket Robin?" And I was all like, "Yeah, that was me." And he's all like, "That was really cool. That's my daughter's favorite thing. I love Pocket Robin." In front of all my coworkers, I'm like, nice. Thanks for making me look cool in front of these people who don't really know me and don't really talk to me that much yet. Hell yeah, thanks. So it was Pocket. I was going to say a lot of people, because a lot of times the higher ups will take the in progress episodes sometimes, and they'll show them to their kids, to just see how it's going. So it's like they'll get to see stuff early, and it was like Pocket. All the kids who saw Pocket Ron really liked Pocket, which was great, because I'm like, I liked Pocket Robin a lot too. He's so funny. That idea came up because I was like, they told me, hey, you got to write an episode. I'm like, I got to write an episode. We started in a week. I got to start coming up with ideas now. And it was just like, I had an idea. I'm like, okay, what if they have a tiny man that they just have to take care of, and he's not fun to take care of, and all he does is scream? And then I presented that to Pete and Luke Cormican, the supervising producer, and they're like, that's fun, we like it, but what if, just to simplify, to make it more Titans, what if it's Pocket Robin and not just some man? And I'm like, sounds great. So it was just the same idea, and then we just made it Robin. But the thing that made me think of Pocket Man, which was the original version, was I was leaving the studio to drive home, and there's a bus stop, and they have the movie ads on the bus stop, and they had an ad for Rocket Man. And I was all like, Rocket Man. I just kind of put my hand up. I'm like, but what if it was Pocket Man? And then that was, so it's like, and then became Pocket Robin, and then it was, so it was like, which I don't know why I didn't think. It's like, yeah, just make one of the Titans the small one. That seems so obvious, but sometimes you just got to get the idea in front of another set of ears and eyes, and it's like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, we'll just do it that way. It's like the building blocks are all there, and then that one thing is like perfect. And a lot of people may not know this, but Pocket Robin screaming is me. Whenever he screams, that's me. It's a stock sound effect that I use sometimes that was recorded, and we used it on Unikitty one time, and I was just like, let me grab that sound effect, and it's
Oh man, I even catch that.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Well, no, nobody would catch it because it's it doesn't sound like me, and so it's, and most people don't hear my voice, in the context of a completely done episode. So, but it was we used it as the temp, and we're all like, we like it, and it means that a voice actor doesn't have to scream a bunch of times. So it was funnier hearing the exact same scream a bunch of times It wasn't as funny when it was a different scream every time. It was funny that it didn't change. It was the low quality of the fact that it was the identical each time was funnier. So we experimented with both, and we're like, the timing and just the idea of the screams being identical is funnier in this scenario. So that's what we ended up doing. But yeah, TV Night 6 is my favorite.
Yes.
That I did just because it was fun and it turned out great. And I got to have my name at the beginning of the episode, which I had never. Well, the director always has their name, but it was the first time I got to see like written by. Even though I had been writing for years, it was the first time I actually got recognition on TV in front of the episode. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's always cool.
And then on Jellystone, I got to write all the time. So.
Oh yeah, of course. And while we're still talking about Teen Titans Go, we have another question from Talia Purper, who you mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah.
Who just asked, what's your favorite work time snack?
What's my favorite work time snack? I don't tend to eat while I am working. I can't multitask. It's I got my pen in my hand. But like when I'm writing and stuff, I make a lot of pickles at my house. I have one of these Japanese pickle makers where
cool.
You have like a big piece of granite, and then you put just your salt and your vegetables and all your stuff, and then you just put the big stone on it, and then you seal it, and then a handful of days later you got a bunch of pickles, and those are really good. So I've been making a lot of pickles on quarantine. And you can make a pickle out of anything. If it's a vegetable, you can pickle it. It's great. Then I do a lot. Everyone I tell this to thinks it's insane and sounds so gross, but I have green apple slices with yellow mustard, which is good. And I know everybody thinks it sounds gross as hell, but I really like it, and I've liked that since I was a kid. I do that. It's good. It's healthy. It's a healthy snack. And then if we're talking about like things you buy at the store, I go to. I've been shopping at pretty much exclusively Asian markets, or not exclusively, but 90% of the time I go to Ranch 99 because it's a pandemic, and at the Asian grocery store everybody wears a mask, and there isn't going to be a Karen throwing a fit about being forced to wear a mask. I was about to say, I'm like, I also just like the Asian grocery store. They got good stuff. They have these, they're kind of like Chex Mix, but they're triangles. They're called Palinki. Mm-hmm. And they have a corn soup flavor one that, again, sounds silly, but it's really good. And it's, I like, so corn soup Palinkis, I would say that's my favorite snack right now. That's from the store. They're tasty. I like those. Just put them in a little bowl.
Oh, rad.
Yeah. I like that question because it's just, it's a human question. Not a.
Yeah.
Yeah. A nice late question.
So I want to see if I can like do like a bit of a lightning round. Yeah. Just getting some of the easier ones like out first. Mm-hmm. Who is your favorite animal or pet from Twitter user? Who's the Pastor One?
Well, I have a cat. I don't know. Maybe she was walking around in the background here.
Yeah, I did. I did see your cat.
Oh, okay, I was going to say I have a black cat. I have EO as I have a cat named EO that you'll probably see here and there. If you're on Twitter, you'll see a picture of her sometimes. But yeah, I like cats. I like all animals. I like funny animals, but when it comes to animals in real, I like dogs and cats, but cats are my favorite.
Okay. I'm more of a dog person myself.
Yeah. They're all cool.
Because of childhood.
I just always had a cat, and cats are so easy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Work time snack, favorite animal. Oh, it's gonna be a joke in itself to read this handle. Twitter user Stinky Doodoo Boy ask, why does Peter Pan suffer?
I was going to say, do not give Nick the satisfaction of reading out his full name. I know who this is. If the name is stupid, just a hot podcast tip at him. If the name is stupid, you can just say someone asked if you don't want to read it.
I don't mind joking. It's fun.
But yeah, why does Peter Potamus have to suffer? My answer is he knows what he did. Next question.
Okay. Okay. Just have like a slightly more serious Jellystone question. How has work from home impacted the production of Jellystone for the first few weeks, and how's production been most recently compared to that?
So definitely, the pandemic hit in the middle of Jellystone. So we were on. It was I think like stuff started to shut down around March, and we were right in the middle. So that was interesting for sure, because I was one of the last people to leave the office, because it was a director. So it was the directors and the editors were the last people to be sent home. So I remember there was, I remember when we were starting to hear word of, it's like, hey, people are starting to get sick, and then, but we're like, but we don't know that much, and then very quickly it was like, hey, the way that we do everything is going to have to change. This is really serious. And, and it was, I pitched, I was in the middle of like my third episode. Like, so, first episode was Gorillas in the Midst, or a Gorilla in Our Midst. And we pitched that. So I was going to say, you may notice that when I post clips of Gorillas in the Midst and, Grocery Store, there's a laugh track in the background, because those were pitched in the office live. So like, and we would get the audio for the animatic. We would just record it during the pitch, because that way we didn't have to spend extra time re-performing the episode into a microphone for the editor.
Right.
But then all the other episodes, so we did those, but then, so the day I pitched Grocery Store was, for many people, their last day in the office. Like it was like we did Grocery Store, and then everybody packed up their computers and went home. So it was like in the morning I pitched Grocery Store, and then after that it was like me helping like Yotam and Megan and everybody pack up their computers and carry them downstairs and put them in a car. Like it was
wow.
And then we got back to, and they all just went home to set up their computers and stuff. And then I went back to the office, because I was still in the office for like 2 more weeks, 2 or 3. And it was just like, and no one was there. And it was so surreal, it's like, I just helped everybody leave, and then I would drive to work, and there'd be no cars on the freeway. And then you'd get there, there's no one in the building. And it was very bizarre. And then I eventually, went, and it was, and then we went home, and then it was like, okay, from here on out, we're, it's like all the pitches we do are from home, so now I'm used to getting feedback from the audience while I do a pitch, but now it's, everyone is watching on mute, and they type all the things that they're like, ha ha ha. So it's like, I can go back, but it's like, I'm getting no live feedback for the pitch I'm doing. And I'm pitching an episode in my house to nobody, and, or to nobody like physically there. Yeah. And it's just like, I hope this went well, and, right. And it was, the nice thing about being in an office is if you want to brainstorm with somebody, you just walk over to their desk and be like, what do you think about this? And when you're on work from home, I live alone, especially. So it's like, I can't just walk somewhere and be like, what do you think? You have to like schedule time to have a Zoom call with somebody. And there was a pretty decent period of time
Right.
where people didn't know how to use Zoom, you know, because nobody was familiar with it.
Yeah.
And I would say the toughest thing for me about work from home is just being able to bounce ideas off of people, you know, just being able to talk. And it was also, you know, it was like I was kind of getting to know my coworkers, and it's like, okay, well, now I can't have lunch with them. Now I can't, you know, really talk to them. So it's like, it was, you know, it's very isolating, you know, and it's, you get burnt out way faster because you're worried about getting sick. You're worried about your family and your friends getting sick. And then also it's all like, I can't talk about my ideas with my coworkers as easily, you know, so it's like you have to rely on yourself a lot more to be able to come up with jokes. And then also the other thing was me giving a really long answer.
Yeah. But I do still enjoy discussion. So I just have like 2 more questions and then we can wrap up. Okay. So S4 Spectre asked, if you could do more Unikitty, would you?
I would love to do more Unikitty. I loved working on that show. The crew was great. The characters were so fun. We had a really good workflow, and you know what? I really loved it. But it's like, I don't know. People always ask, like, would you go back to, this show that isn't around anymore? Would you? And it's like, yeah, I love that show when I was working on it. But if we did it again, it wouldn't be the same. You know, like you can't.
Right.
You would not get the, it's like, this is a job for us, and it's like, all of us are all now working on different stuff, so it's like, it's anytime a new iteration of a thing comes out, it's always, you can't go home again. It's never going to be exactly the same. So it's like, yeah, if everything would be identical again, it's like, yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. But it's like, if we did go back, it's like, it wouldn't necessarily be the same thing. So it's like, I loved it the way it was, but it's like we did 104 episodes and it turned out great. And it's like, it's, I would say both yes and maybe, or I mean, if it was coming back, it'd be weird if I wasn't there, but it's, it's like I would love to, but also it's, we did a lot, and it's like, sometimes it's, I don't know. Yeah, that's a hard question to ask, or to answer. It's an easy question to ask. But yeah, I don't know. It's, it's like, I loved working on it, but it's all like, if you went back, it might not be the same, and it's like, oh, you hope it's the same enough, with the same vibe, and it's just like, you never know,
But no, I agree. Like everything is just like a moment in time. So you wouldn't have that exact same vibe.
Totally. Yeah. And that's how it is with literally anything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for our final question, which, I might have my own 2 cents. So we'll figure it out. Our final question comes from Giga Jane, and she asks, tips for people who want to enter the industry.
I would say, I mean, I think we've talked about a handful of tips where it's just like, here's how I think of ideas. Here's how I do this. I mean, tip 1 is work really hard and be nice, I know people who are very, very good, but they're very difficult to work with, and people don't like working with them. Or it's like they work really hard, but then when you give them notes, they get upset, because they're very precious with their work. And it's like, we're not giving notes because we don't like you. We're giving notes because there are external factors outside of anybody's control that we have to factor in, that is just stuff that we always have to do, whether it's based on how much money we have available or what the network wants or anything. So just know it's all like, I would say, learn to be good at doing notes and getting notes and implementing those notes. And just know it's like, it's your job, so it's like, it's a fun job, but it's still your job. So it's like, sometimes I do stuff that I don't want to have to do, but it's like, but we got to do it, because it's like, oh, I don't want to change this. I like the way it was. But then it's like, no, there's other things we have to consider. So you do that. But then it's also, if you work hard enough and you think hard about what you have to do, anytime you have to change something, you can be like, I can change this into something that I like and meets the criteria for what I need to do. So it's like, you can always, if you put enough thought into it and you think hard enough, you will always be able to make something that works both for you and the person you are working for. So don't dig your heels in. I would say think of a way where it's like, how do I make this work for everybody? Because there's always a way. For sure. And then also just like talk to people. And then, if you're doing your work, just make sure your work is very easy to see and you're easy to get a hold of, and apply to jobs even if you think you're not ready yet, because maybe they think you are. And then if they think you are, I guess you are, so it's, try out for stuff if you're not, even if you're like, I'm not 100% ready, and it's like, you don't have to be 100%. A lot of people get hired at 60%. So just give it a shot, and if they hire you, then perfect. You got it, Somebody asked a question when they were on like Top Cat spin-off when. I remember somebody was asking about Top Cat. I was thinking about that. I'm like, I love the Top Cat cats. They're so funny. I really liked, I was the one who got the opportunity to I had their first big episode, so I kind of got to figure out like what all their personalities were kind of about, and it's, some of them are girls now, which I think is cool. And I think it was Brain and Choo Choo were girls when I came in. Like they were girls, but Spooky they didn't know. And I think I was like, let's have Spooky be a girl because then it's 50-50. And they're all like, sounds great. Like, so I was about to say, I made Spooky. I was the one who transed Spooky's gender, but the other two were already there. But it was fun. I got to be, it's all like, it's like, okay, Top Cat's this. Choo Choo is the one who, like kind of when we were going in with Top Cat, I think the reason that everybody's liking the Top Cat gang so much is we just tried to go in and it's like my theory is it's just like these characters know each other really well. They're all great friends. I don't think they're all like, it's like these are all characters who, they've been together for years, so it's like, I feel like a lot of shows when you're introducing characters, you have them say things so that the audience can get to know them. But it's like, if I was talking to my friend that I knew for years, I would never ask them this question. I would just know the answer to it, so it was kind of the vibe we went in going in was I was all like, how do friends talk to one another? And that was kind of because it's like they know each other, so they're not going to ask obvious questions. It's like, hey man, why are you always like this? It's like, they just know that that's how that person is, so it's just like, how's your sister doing? How's, I forgot about her, and it's like, and they tease each other and they, do all that, and it's fun. It's really exciting to be able to work with like a little group of characters where it's like there's some boys and the girls and they're all friends. And I guess, and I know a lot of people are like, there are people who are like, I don't know why they had to make them all girls. There's some people who are like, I don't know why they didn't just like, it's so silly because it's like they're like, I don't know why they couldn't just make up new characters that were female, as if the people like, as if
a comment just
I was
like
going to
that
say,
today.
as if the community at large wouldn't throw an absolute bitch fit if we like put in new characters that no one had ever seen before. It's like the whole purpose of the show is that it's all characters you know and love, and then it's like, and a bunch of women you've never heard of because we just made them up. That would be insane. Of course we're not going to do that. And then, like, I just think that's so funny. They're like, why didn't they make new ones? It's like, because the purpose of the show is we're using all old stuff. No new characters. There's so many Hanna-Barbera characters that nobody's ever heard of, And now we get to see them again. And they're like, how come Jabberjaw doesn't talk like Curly? It's like, we don't own the rights to Curly. We can't have it. I miss when it was Curly. And it's like, that's like, do you understand the legal minefield it would be? It's like, no, we're going to make her a cool woman, and Nicole Thurman's going to make her so funny. Like, why didn't you copy what these other people, why don't you copy what they copied from another guy in a way that was ambiguously legal? It's like, because it's ambiguously legal. We can't do it's. I don't know. People always, they're all like,
original.
I know, it's like, well, people are always like, why did you do this? As if it was all like, oh, we did it to make you upset. And it's like, no, there are certain reasons we have to do things a certain way. Sometimes legally, sometimes because we don't have a right to a certain character, sometimes because the company is all like, we want to save these characters for this. And it's all like understood, you know, like, so it's like,
yeah,
there's all types of external factors that make us make a show, you know, the way it is, you know, it's, you know, like it's, you can't,
yeah,
there's S&P notes where it's like, you can't show a child with a knife outside of a kitchen, you know, like, because you can't put a kid in a dryer or a fridge, you know, because it's like, it's imitatable, but then it's like, we don't own this character, or we have this character, but it's too expensive. We'd have to pay this person, you know? So it's like, people are like, oh, the creators did this because they hate us. And it's like, no, there's a whole plethora and storm of things we do when we make it. So it's like, you know, it's like we're doing the funniest with what we're given. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying it's like, hey, this is how it works. But also it's like the way we're doing it is also the stuff that we think it's the funniest. It gives us the most opportunity for jokes. And it's what we think the most people are going to enjoy to watch. And they're like, yeah, I don't know why they had to switch all their genders. And it's and I would say, why couldn't they just let them all be boys? And I would say, my question to you who asked that question is, if you walked up to a transgender person in real life, you would not be like, how come you didn't just stay a boy? So I would say it's like, if you wouldn't say that to a real person, don't say that to these characters. Learn some manners. Why couldn't you just stay the way you were? It's like, hey, that's not how it works. Some people change, and I don't know, deal with it and stop being so goddamn rude. They're ladies now. Sorry. We didn't want to have a show with all dudes. Yeah. You know? Have some fun with it.
Especially if it's like a whole town. That's like completely unrealistic anyway.
I think it's real cool, and I'm glad that a lot of people are really excited about it. That was a it's nice, you know, I just want people to know, you know, if you're someone who feels that way, you know, and you're experiencing that, well, it's like, hopefully you can see yourself or a friend in these characters on Jellystone, or they're in any character, you know, on TV. It's whenever me and my coworkers are making stuff, it's just like, we hope you see yourself or a friend in this, and you can watch them on this little journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm speaking from experience. I have a lot of fellow LGBT plus friends who are really taking liking to Jellystone, really are really just like feel like a level of attachment with these characters. Mm-hmm. And
well, they're all nice characters that you want, you know, it's like that's the other thing, is it's not fun to see characters be mean to each other. It's more, audiences, especially when they focus test kids now, it's because kind of in the 90s when I was growing up, you know, it's a lot of like bad guys versus good guys and stuff. And like, that's still fun, but they say kids now and viewers in general, but when they test it, obviously they test kids because they're the target audience, but it's kids. What kids want to see is they want to see friends solving a problem together, you know? And so it's they don't want people are like, oh, people want episodes that are conflict free. It's like, no, it's not that. It's more that the conflict is just like, all right, we got to do this. How do we do it? You know? And so that's a shift I've noticed from when I was a kid to now. And I think it's fun. You know, it's nice to see. It's all like characters where it's all like, this is fun. I'm having a nice time with you, but boy, oh boy, what are we supposed to do? And it's fun to write for scenarios like that and that kind of stuff. I'm glad people are enjoying it, because cartoons are for everybody.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, that really is it at the end of the day. And this is just my final point, just to circle back to the interview advice, and this is just like more me talking to you and just like everyone else is listening, if I can be honest. But just to get like your own like quote unquote professional opinion. This is not a professional setting.
No, but I was gonna say it's an opinion regardless,
Yeah, of course. But well, I guess like for me, like someone in my position, whereas like I didn't traditionally like go to like in like an art college. I don't have an art major. Basically like everything that I do is like basically like entirely self-taught. And no, while there is like a little bit to brag about that, I do feel like while my ultimate goal is to be in the industry, I feel like it's kind of like I feel like there's kind of like a basis in terms of like traditional education I missed out, and it's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of like been directionless in terms of like figuring out like what I want to do and how I would get there. Like for example, I've been trying to gravitate towards character design, but I guess
that was going to be my first question is, do you think you're more of a story person or do you think you're more of a design person?
Right.
Because it's not like you learn and then you get a job and you're done. It's a lifelong process that you're always doing, but it's the hardest at the beginning. But like you were talking to Megan, and Megan, she was doing completely different stuff before she was doing TV stuff, and it's not an impossible switch to make by any means, but you just gotta work hard and you gotta put a lot of effort into it because it's timelines are tight. And so it's all like, we got to know somebody. It's like to get a job, they got to know that you got to be able to get the job done. So as long as you can prove that, you do that and you prove that just by learning and practicing and taking classes and meeting people and getting good, and when I was in college, I learned, a recruiter from Nickelodeon came and, I remember recruiters from all the studios came and we could all talk to them because we were, juniors and seniors looking to enter the workforce in a couple of years. And I remember the talk I had with the recruiter from Nickelodeon because I talked to her and she's like, well, what do you do? And I was like, well, I kind of know how to do lots of stuff. It's like I can do storyboards. I have some character design background. I'm fairly skilled at editing, and I write a lot too. And she was all like, and she stopped me and she's like, I don't want to hear that. She's like, you need to specialize. You only need to know how to do one thing. And I was like, and that was very stupid advice she gave me. And I disagree with her to this day. For her to discourage someone from learning a breadth of different things was, I think, terrible advice that I'm glad I did not take. Also, I think this recruiter was not a person in a creative position. I don't think she drew. So it's like, why are you even here? I was about to say, you're just here to find people to work. It's like, I want to talk to someone who's going to be my boss. They know what they're looking for better than you. And but, it was I studied a lot of different things in school, which was USC's whole thing. Also, I did not go to art school. I was at the film school at USC, but USC is a regular college. I had to take science and, history and stuff too, which I liked. I didn't want to go to art school. I like to learn about all the different stuff. And, but I went to film school. So so it's like, I didn't just learn animation. It was, we had, classes where we watched movies and then we figured then we talked about, here's how they made that movie. The way this movie did this, with the sound made me feel this way, which enhanced the story. It's like the way they cut this scene made me feel this way. And that served this story point here. And I took editing classes, but it was live action, editing, because in animation, you don't have coverage. If you have coverage in animation, it means you animated a lot of stuff you didn't need to animate. So it's like, I learned a lot of other, we storyboard so that we don't animate a bunch of stuff that we didn't need that we have to throw away. Right. But it's, it's like, I learned a lot of different things, and it's good to have one it's all like, this is the thing I know I'm the best at, the thing I know I enjoy doing the most. And that's, I would say, focus on that to get your job. And that will get you a job. But to be truly good at your job, it helps to know as much about the other jobs that touch and relate to your job as possible, because then you can be a more courteous coworker that makes it easier, and that the whole pipeline will be more cohesive. So it's good to learn about what you want to do, but also to learn about the things that are related to it, and to at least have some understanding of what your coworkers are doing and what they're working hard on. So at the very least, you understand what it is they need to know to be good at their job, and you can appreciate what they're doing, and you can all work better together, So it's good to, it's like, definitely like have your focus, or your one or two focuses that, because I know a lot of people who they were an editor first and they were able to get into it, or they were on the production team, which are like the people who help schedule meetings and make sure files go to the right people, and just make sure everything is organized and run well. And you get in there, and then from there you meet people, then you're practicing, you're getting better at your job, and then maybe something pops up, and maybe it isn't the job that you thought was going to pop up. And you can be like, hey, let me try out for that. And then maybe you get it, because then they've been working with you. So it's like, if you can prove you do the job, they've already been working with you for a while. So they know you work hard and are good and are nice to work with. So that gives you a boost, and they know you,
right.
I know a lot of people who they're like, I want to be a character designer or a background designer, but those jobs were full up, but there was a prop designer position available, and they were all like, oh, let me swoop in and try and do that. And they got the job, and then some of them transitioned into the one they want. And some of them were like, actually, I really like props. And then they just keep doing that. It's definitely apply for jobs that maybe you don't think you're ready for yet, but also try applying to jobs that maybe isn't exactly the thing you want, but is close. Because one, it may get you in with the one you want, or you may discover that you really like doing that. And you can, and you're just like, oh, I never would have thought of this, but I really like this. So you just, I don't know, just try it out, practice, try, talk to people, be nice. Like that works for any job. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But no, thank you very much. Not only for answering my question, but just being like a great guest in general.
Oh, no problem.
Like a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for your very nice review of Jellystone, where you said all those nice words about me. That was very nice. I've never been called out in a review before for anything, so that was a lot of times when you work in animation, people don't know who it's like nobody ever sees our faces, so it's like people don't know who we are. So it's that was a very nice surprise. Yeah. It was just, thank you. I'm so glad, and thanks. And you had such a nice episode with Megan, and it was like, so to say, hey, I'll talk to anybody who's nice, who knows their stuff. That's fun for me too.
Yeah. And honestly, that's always something that I've wanted to, just like further like my personal videos, because I guess I could also use this to like just like learn as like what stuff do. But it's also like, even for like casual people who are just like nerds about animation but don't necessarily want to like work in it. No, you don't really hear a lot about behind the scenes stuff, like who's doing specific things. So that's where I come with my terabytes of notes. But nah, for sure. It's just been great. I remember like in like 2018, 2019, just like seeing that sequence from KashCast, and it's like, yo, this person rocks. So, it comes full circle right now. But before we sign off for real, how can our listeners find you?
I'm on Twitter. That's the easiest way to find me. That's where I'm the most it's like I'm on all the things, because so it's like I'm on Instagram, I'm on Tumblr, but if you want the most up-to-date stuff, that's the best. It's Twitter's the place to go. So anytime, it's like I got storyboards to post or just goofy things. Right now, I'm telling everybody to vote no on the recall here in California. I do not want to have a different governor. Gavin Newsom is fine. Let's keep it that way. This episode will probably come out after that's all done. Vote no on the recall if you're in California and you can vote. A lot of that right now, but mostly it's like, we got storyboards or funny pictures or, anytime we hear that there's going to be new episodes coming out, which we don't know when the episodes come out either. It's when HBO Max tells the public, that's when the crew finds out too. Yeah. So it's our job is to get the episode ready and send it out, and then they just hold on to it and they do it. So we're like, okay, and then we just go to work on a new thing. So it's like when we find out, we'll let you know. But it's just all my, just hit me up on Twitter. It's literally my name. If you look up Careen Ingle on Twitter, you'll find me. And I like to I post a lot of little animatic clips with all the scratch audio, so you can kind of see early stages of how stuff looks, and you can ask me questions about the show within reason, and
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we have finally wrapped up another episode of the KashCast. Just remember, I am currently this show should be on like a lot of like streaming platforms, but mainly anchor.fm/KashCast. You can also follow either the podcast's Twitter account, KASH_CAST_, or my personal account, which is just the same, just have an H in the end. It should be in the bio. But yes, this has been another episode. I have been Cash.
I'm Careen. Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Oh, no problem. And we will both see you next time. Just remember to take care, stay safe, wear a mask, make sure to watch Jellystone when it comes on Cartoon Network in September. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But yes, this has been a great episode. So just remember, take care, stay safe, wear a mask, watch Jellystone, and love and peace always. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye, guys.